What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Let's get into some more Entitled Parent stories. Entitled parent loses it over her child's IQ test results. Hey, long-time lurker, big fan of this sub, but let me give you a bit of context before the story starts. I'm a psychology student currently trying to get my master's degree. And in my country, in order to validate your degree, you have to do a 6 months long internship in a practice, where you get to treat your first patients under supervision. This means after each session, you do a debriefing with your supervisor where you discuss the case and how to proceed next. I'm doing my internship in a children's clinic as my specialization is in children and teenagers psychology. It's also important to note that in my country, a lot of children are diagnosed with ADHD or hyperpotential. Basically a really high IQ, and this represents a fair share of the children we see at my clinic. And therefore, since a few years ago, it has become a vicious circle. Every time a kid acts out a little bit in class, the parents immediately think they must be diagnosed either with ADHD or hyperpotential, although in my opinion, most of the time, they're just children being children. You can't expect to be calm and quiet all the time. Sometimes all they need is a bit of discipline when they really do something wrong. I don't know if it's much of a problem in other countries, so I thought it was better to make that clear. So it was just a regular day at the clinic. I already had 2 or 3 appointments and they all went pretty great, at least according to my supervisor. My next patient was an entitled kid and they were the last one I was going to see before my lunch break. They were scheduled for 11 AM and from what I could gather by what they told the receptionist on the phone, the entitled mum wanted her entitled kid to take an IQ test because they've been acting out in school. Apparently because they're too smart and get bored because it's too easy for them. The school wants me to prove it to them so that my kid can go directly to the next grade. Now, she was not the first parent to ask for that, and I always try to keep an open, non-judgmental state of mind, so I was like, yeah, maybe that's exactly what's happening. Maybe the entitled kid really is bored in class because they're too smart. It happens, you know. Boy, was I wrong. First of all, the WISCV, which is the test we use to test the IQ with children, takes quite a long time to run through entirely. And it is really not recommended to stop at the middle of the test and do the rest later because you will not be in the same state the first time and the next. And that can really affect your results in the end. So when a parent wants us to test their child's IQ, we warn them to be on time and that the process can take quite a long time too, so they should be prepared for that. Since I'm still supervised, we also have to film the room where the test happens, just to see if I do it right, as some of the test items must be put in a certain way and not another, and I have to say instructions in some exact words, so it's just to check that how the test was done was not unbiased. Now this will be important later. We also warn the parents about that on the phone, and ask them to come a bit earlier than the time scheduled so that they can sign the consent form for the film. So as you can understand, being on time or even early is something that we really put a focus on the first time we speak with the parents. Unsurprisingly, the entitled parent and her entitled kid showed up 30 minutes late. My opened, non-judgmental state of mind kind of started to be tested. The EP went through the consent form with the receptionist, and after that she said she just waited at the reception until her kid's done with their IQ test. I told her that she might want to wait at the cafe right next to our clinic, that she will be way more comfortable waiting there as it would take some time for her entitled kid to take the whole test. She responded with something like, "What, are you sponsored by this cafe? I don't want to pay anything just to wait. The IQ test costs a lot already." I looked at her and just shrugged, and took her entitled kid to the testing room. I tried really hard to forget about this interaction with the entitled mother. She was the one that annoyed me, not her entitled kid, so let's not redirect my anger for her towards him, I thought. But he quickly proved that the apple does not fall far from the tree. Before we even arrived in the room, while we were walking in the hallways, he kept telling how he was going to ace this test, how they're so intelligent and how they can't wait to skip a grade. Sure bud, whatever. During the test, he starts all his answers by, "Well, obviously the right answer is," or some kind of similar phrase. He really wanted to show me that he was smart. Once the test is done, I walk him back to his mum, who was shouting at the receptionist asking what took so long. She saw us and said, "Finally, I've been waiting for like an hour." To which I responded, "Well, I did tell you it would take some time." She stared at me for a few seconds, sighed, and rolled her eyes like I just said the most annoying thing in the world, and asked me when they could expect the results. I told her I had to get them checked by my supervisor before telling her anything. She then said, "Oh, so we have to wait again?" And I said yes. I told her that we would call them in the afternoon for the results. She raised her arms, grabbed her entitled kid, and left. During lunch, I go through the results with my supervisor, and we discover that the entitled kid has an IQ of 104, which is clearly average and far from the IQ you need to be diagnosed as hyperpotential. My supervisor watches the video of the testing and says I've done everything right and that I can call the entitled mum to tell her, which is exactly what I do, and she is furious. She says she doesn't believe me and just hangs up. 20 minutes later or so, she barges into the clinic and demands to see me. I was just finished with another patient, so I tell the receptionist to tell her to come to my office, which she does. She yells at me for about 10 minutes. "How dare you say my child is not smart?" That is not what I said. "Then how do you explain how they get bored in school?" "Well, maybe it's because you're just a student, you're not an actual psychologist. I want a real psychologist to test my child." "Actually, my child is the smartest in the world, how dare you?" At this point, everyone in the clinic can hear her rant, even my supervisor. So he comes in my office and asks if everything is okay. "No, not everything is okay. This dumb student here says my child isn't smart. You need to test them again." My supervisor looks at me and tells me to leave and that he'll handle it. From what I've heard, he stayed very calm while explaining to EM that no, 104 IQ is not hyperpotential and maybe she should see the problem from another angle. That he watched the videos of the testing and that I didn't do anything wrong. He stayed so calm during his explanations, I was really impressed. I don't think I could have kept my cool like that. You know, they warn you about entitled parents in psychology classes, but geez, I did not expect that. Now, I'm pretty sure that 104 IQ is actually not that bad. I think it's slightly above average, according to this graph anyway. So the kid is definitely not dumb, he's still pretty clever. I'm just surprised that his mother's influence hasn't dropped his IQ down by about 30 or 40 points. Moving on to our next story, entitled mum left her 3-year-old kid alone in the pool and gets mad at me, the lifeguard. So, during summer holidays, I work as a lifeguard in a swimming pool. This story is not from this summer, but the year before. I worked in the only pool of a small town, but as this was the only big pool for around 30 kilometers, we had lots of people. We reached 1,000 entries in a single day once. There were 4 different basins in the pool. The regular 25-meter swimming lanes, a smaller one, 15 meters, a more shallow one for kids to play, and a really shallow one for toddlers. We also had a separate area with jacuzzis, a sauna, a hammam, known as Turkish baths apparently, well that is the Turkish word, where children were not permitted entry. So the story. As I was on my chair, I was scanning the area when I saw this young woman with her child who was no more than 3 years old. She had the typical "I dropped out of college to care for my son and I am more important than you" look. I did not really care at the time. For me, she was just a regular client amongst the nameless mass. But a few moments later, she walked past me to the spa area alone. I start to look around and see the kid, wandering aimlessly just next to the water, starting to run around looking for his mother. I think it was a little boy, although I don't 100% remember that. That cannot be good, I thought. I went over to talk to the kid when, after running around, he fell in the deep pool. I instantly grabbed the lifeguard tube we used to get people out of the water and carried him safely on a chair so he could get dried. Mind you, quite a lot of people were massing around us, including one of my colleagues whom I asked to go and get the lady. Enter entitled mother. As soon as the entitled mother sees her kid sitting on a chair, she rushes to him and slapped him dead hard across the face. Needless to say, everyone was shocked. I grabbed her and pushed her away and tried to talk to her. The conversation went approximately like this. "What are you doing? Why are you slapping him? Are you crazy? He's a little disobedient idiot. I told him not to." I was completely puzzled. Not to do what? Go in the water, dang it. He doesn't know how to swim. Why the frick would he go in the water? I told him to wait for me. At this moment, I started to get angry. Unlike most people I see posting here, I do not mind confrontation at all. I basically told her that what she did was completely stupid and irrational, and that one must be an idiot to expect a 3-year-old to obey like that. I'm pretty sure I said it in more professional terms, but you get it. She then proceeded to turn the fault to me. Also, why didn't you prevent him from getting in the water? Are you even a real lifeguard? You should be watching over him. I pointed at the pool and told her, see all the people here? I can watch over him just like I can watch over the hundreds of children I see each day. No more, no less. After that, she got out of the pool, screaming and shouting insults at me and my colleagues. I told my boss about it and the pool is now closed for her. No dramatic ending. Oh yeah, and the kid turned out fine. He had the time to drink a bit of water, but none of it went the wrong way, so it was fine. I can't imagine leaving your child alone anywhere, to be honest, but leaving your kid alone, a 3-year-old kid by the way, leaving them alone at a swimming pool when they can't swim, that's one of the most stupid things I've ever heard in my life. In all honesty, that is a clear and irrefutable sign of abuse and neglect. Imagine what the kid is going through at home. I feel for that guy. Anyway, that is the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. As some of you may have seen on my Twitter the other day, I asked for some suggestions for new subreddits. Entitled Parents is great and all, but I think it's time to incorporate some other subreddits into the video, so leave some comments below telling me what you want me to look at. With that being said, thank you for watching and I will see you all soon with some more.